2008 was a weird year. Facebook had just hit 100 million users. The stock market was at an all-time high, the sort of high that comes before a crash. And I was an artist working in an office on Wall Street. It wasn't a normal office. It was an entire empty floor that this nonprofit had convinced the landlord to give to a bunch of artists for free for a year. And that's where my story begins. Hey.
Hi.
Have you ever been in a completely empty floor of an office building? The names of cities still on the wall, a blank space above them where clocks once hung, a vast sea of cubicles which once held workers who spent their waking lives here. Floors marked with scuffs from shoes that walked back and forth and back and forth. There's something post-apocalyptic about it. It's like walking through the ruins of a once great civilization. I had been applying to artist residencies for a long time before finally getting this one. A year of free space in Manhattan was a big deal, and I wanted to make the most of it. I loved my day job teaching bat mitzvah girls how to chant from the Torah. But I thought maybe this would be the year I would finally break through as an artist. The problem was I hadn't made anything for months. I secretly hoped this new office might give me new courage. Maybe I'd create some big, ambitious performance here. Maybe it would even be marketable. But as the Yiddish saying goes, man plans, and God laughs. The financial district, like the rest of New York City, is an improbable combination. Gleaming and grimy, fancy and cheap, everything butted up against each other, jostling for a space. Each day I'd ride my bike in from Brooklyn, over the Williamsburg Bridge, down through the Lower East Side, past the tenement buildings where my great-grandparents once lived. Then one day, I saw a man in the office across the street. He put his head down on his desk and left it there for a long time.
Again, with Wall Street and the news today isn't getting any better.
There's just panic in the air.
Wall Street treated American economy like a casino.
Not in generations has Wall Street absorbed the number of body blows it took today.
The American financial system is rocked to its foundation as top Wall Street institutions topple under a mountain of debt.
It is definitely a very, very difficult time, and it's not going to get better quickly.
And then Bernie Madoff turned himself in. His 40-year hedge fund was actually a giant Ponzi scheme, the largest financial crime in history.
Until this week, Bernie Madoff was a lion of Wall Street. He managed one of the most successful hedge funds. Then FBI agents...
$50 billion Ponzi scheme. This is
The
one
biggest
of the biggest
Ponzi scheme ever is reverberating throughout the world today.
The NASDAQ stock market. Many people are starting to believe it may have been from the very beginning.
Yeah, and how could he pull this off by himself?
It seems almost impossible.
No.
All fake.
All fake. A novel.
Your statement's a novel.
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh my God, he looks like my dad. He has kind eyes. And that was the beginning of my obsession with Bernie Madoff. We were a community of artists on the 9th floor, with ink on our fingers and paint on our faces. We each had our projects, our insecurities, our secret fears. As for me, I couldn't stop talking about the giant fraud that happened right down the street.
Hey.
Hey.
Nice Christmas lights.
Thanks.
What's he doing on your wall?
The whole thing is crazy. He grew up in Long Island without much money. He got mediocre grades. He married his high school sweetheart, Ruth. It's like a totally normal guy. He started his financial business with money he saved up lifeguarding and installing sprinkler systems. Doesn't make sense. He never studied economics or finance, but his company helped invent the computer trading system that modernized the stock market. And even when he got rich, he didn't flaunt it, not by the standards of Wall Street. He was more like some friendly uncle people trusted with their money. He was this big philanthropist, but all the money he gave away was stolen money. He made this whole thing up from scratch, and he brought his 2 sons into the office to work for him.
As fall turned to winter, I'm sure my growing obsession made me pretty annoying to my fellow artists. But by the time of our January artist salon, Bernie Madoff was starting to work his way into other people's lives too.
Is he a sociopath or just a common criminal?
I know, and get this. I just found out my best friend's grandfather put him through college with the money he earned from Madoff.
What?
My boyfriend's uncle's a lawyer, and he's representing 3 of the victims.
Holy shit! I'm 1 degree from Bernie Madoff! Hey, Mom.
Hey, honey. Remember my college roommate, Evelyn? She works in finance, and boy, does she have a Madoff story for you.
I met with Evelyn in her office, just a few blocks from mine. As she spoke, her words began to form themselves into a song in my head. This was the first time, but it wouldn't be the last.
My name is Evelyn. I was the credit risk officer at a major bank, which shall go unnamed. My job was to approve any funds the bank would use. Due diligence. One day they asked me to approve Bernard Madoff securities. So I tried to do an analysis, due diligence, but I couldn't get any information. Everyone said Bernie Madoff was the president of NASDAQ. Bernie's been in business for 40 years. How dare you ask? Now this was a red flag. Why no information? So I went to speak with a colleague, a very knowledgeable person who doesn't take things at face value. I said, I'm being asked to approve Bernie Madoff. What do you think? And she said, Evelyn, I've been watching Madoff for years. Something's wrong there. I don't know what. It could be insider trading. It could be faked returns. I don't know. But I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. So down the hall I went to tell them I cannot approve this investment. Despite its stellar returns, I find no proof these returns are legal, nor evidence of a trading strategy on the part of Madoff Securities. Well, they were furious with me. I later found out they had wanted to fire me. I did leave that bank eventually, but that's normal in the industry. Three years later, the scandal broke. And the next morning, I received a call at home. It was an apology from one of my old bosses. Now, this might not sound like much to you, but you have to understand this industry is, you don't look back. No one admits mistakes. You just move forward. It attracts alpha personalities. There's no culture of apology. So for that man to call me and say what he said was like anyone else sending a huge bouquet. Just a room full of flowers.
Blossoms come about because a series of conditions lead up to their blooming. Leaves are blown away because a series of conditions lead up to their falling. Due diligence. Everything is created by a series of causes and conditions. News of Madoff's crimes continued to unfold. Stories came in from all over the country, and they started to draw me into these weird little worlds, like Palm Beach, Florida, one of the hardest hit places, where a lot of people lost a lot of money.
Hello.
Hi, this is Alicia. You said you'd be willing to talk to me?
It's that girl.
Country clubs here didn't allow Jews in until 1965.
So we made our own country club.
The Madoffs had a house here in Palm Beach, and they belonged to that Jewish country club.
People would join just to get close to Bernie, to get a chance to possibly invest with him. My best friend lost everything.
What do you think the rabbi did at services that week?
I don't know. I never go.
Me neither.
Actually, I have this friend, she plays accordion. Her mom lives down in West Palm Beach across the tracks. And she told me the congregation recited the Kaddish for Bernie Madoff.
Maybe they should.
The ladies got me wondering, should we all be saying a Kaddish for Bernie Madoff? If you don't know the Kaddish prayer, this might not sound like such a crazy idea. But here's the thing. The Kaddish is one of the holiest Jewish prayers. We use it as a prayer for the dead, although there's no mention of death in it at all. The words are in ancient Aramaic, and they're all about praising God. May God be glorified and exalted and raised up and blessed. According to tradition, saying this prayer helps a dead person's soul ascend to heaven. You don't say Kaddish for someone who's alive. Except in one extremely rare case, excommunication. If you were to excommunicate someone, you'd observe all the mourning rituals as if they had actually died. But that's a rare and ancient practice. And it's not the sort of thing you expect to find in Palm Beach. And yet it did seem like something ancient was happening here. Something of our time, but also beyond it. So I started looking for old ideas about possessions and loss and what really matters. Ideas from before Bernie Madoff, before Wall Street, before America. And I started turning them into songs.
Blossoms come about because a series of conditions lead up to their blooming. Blossoms do not appear independently, nor does a leaf fall of itself out of its season. So everything has its coming forth and passing away. Nothing can be independent without any change.
It is the everlasting and unchanging rule of this world that everything is created by a series of causes and conditions, and everything disappears by the same rule. Everything changes, nothing remains constant.
90 years after my great-grandparents came to America from Eastern Europe, my family was still Jewish, but not really religious at all. And we were the only Jewish family in our neighborhood, so I didn't know much about my culture until I turned 20 and got curious. Now being Jewish was a big part of my identity, and usually that made me proud. But when I thought about Bernie Madoff, I felt shame. What did it mean that he was from my tribe, that he literally shared my DNA? And what about Wall Street? Shouldn't they have known something was wrong? Was he that much of a genius, or did they look the other way? I had to understand more. Conveniently, a whole mini industry of Madoff books had just begun to emerge. They always had these pithy subtitles, like The Magician of Lies, How Bernie Madoff Killed Trust, or The Madoff Secret, Behind Closed Doors on the 17th Floor. My favorite was a bestseller by the Madoff whistleblower. It was called I Tried to Tell Them, A True Crime in Modern Finance. The author was a quant, a math genius working on Wall Street using equations to make money for his firm. He wrote,
I kept getting in trouble with my bosses because I couldn't match Madoff's returns. Then I started looking into how he did it. It didn't take long to realize the whole thing had to be a fraud. Listen, back in 2005, I handed the government a detailed report entitled, The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud. The government ignored me.
There is no such thing as a straight line. No such thing as a straight line in finance. I knew as soon as I saw it. Yes, I knew as soon as I saw it. I'm a quant. I understand these things in a way most people can't. Futures contracts, split strike conversions. I'm a quant, I can do the math most people can't, I can. Mortgage-backed, asset-backed, color trades mean reversions. Numbers exist in relationship. That's how I knew I saw a straight line. 45-degree angle does not happen in finance. No matter how lucky or smart you are, no matter your secret strategy, unless your secret strategy is that you're drawing the line. I knew I had to say something, but I also knew these people were dangerous. The Russian mafia might have been involved.
So before I compile my report, for the safety of myself and my family, I had to buy a gun.
And then this new book I've been reading says Bernie loved straight lines and right angles and had like almost a phobia of circles. This one time he arrived at his London office to find they'd installed a video conferencing center with a curved wall. And he flew into a rage and demanded they tear it down. Like, I can't live with it. It has to be square. But he rented 3 floors of the Lipstick Building, which is an oval. I guess the 18th and 19th floors were a legitimate trading business he ran with his 2 sons. Meanwhile, on the 17th floor, they were like making up numbers and doing all the Ponzi stuff. And get this, my friend Tim has this uncle who's an FBI agent who worked on the case, and he agreed to tell me what he saw on the 17th floor.
I wasn't just obsessed with Bernie Madoff. I was obsessed with anyone who had a connection to him. And they kept coming, one after the other. I interviewed them, went back to my studio, and turned their stories into songs. I was being sucked deeper and deeper into my obsession.
The sharks were hungry, they were all jumping in. They knew there was money to be made. But when the captain abandoned ship, it turned out he'd never done a single trade. He had an office in London and a residence in France, and a summer home in the Hamptons, and a whole lot of people living high on the hog, making the magic happen down on the 17th floor. Now I was working insurance fraud, Medicare, Medicaid, Russians making a killing. And then one morning I got the call to report down to the Lipstick Building. Madoff's operation took up 3 floors. We combed through everyone. We packed it all up and sent it to a warehouse as evidence of what happened down on the 17th floor. Lavishly decorated, black leather and silver everywhere. There was a sculpture of a bull and this giant silver screw, like a symbol of what he did down there. The 17th floor was like a hoarder's paradise, wall to wall bankers' boxes. It didn't look good, didn't have to look good to do what they did down on the 17th floor. The sharks were hungry, they were all jumping in. They knew there was money to be made. captain, abandoned ship. It turned out he'd never done a single trade. Now other cases have a lot of very good investigations, but they all lead to a dry hole, just money in the wind. This one's different. There's a lot of assets. We're gonna get some money back to the victims of what happened down on the 17th floor.
I kept thinking about that synagogue in Palm Beach where they recited the Kaddish for Madoff.
So I called my friend's mom back and asked her to tell me more, but she had no idea what I was talking about.
There was hugging and crying among the victims, but there was no Kaddish for Madoff.
But I remembered her telling me that. I mean, I heard her say it. Did I imagine it? Did I dream it? Or was it some ancient Jewish memory of excommunication surfacing? Either way, the truth is, I hated thinking about Madoff as a Jew. I mean, he's pretty much the definition of bad for the Jews.
But you know, on Yom Kippur, we recite these confessional prayers where we go down the Hebrew alphabet listing the sins we've committed. And we say them all in the plural. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi. We have been adulterous. We have betrayed. We have committed slander. We have deceived. There's this idea that even though no one person could possibly have done all these things wrong, as a community, we are responsible for each other. We are all connected.
A Kabbalistic text. God is one. God's secret is one. The entire chain of being is one. Down to the last link, everything is linked with everything else. Divine essence is below as well as above, in heaven and on earth. There is nothing else. I felt stuck. What should we do with him? Excommunication or radical compassion? We could say a Kaddish and be done with him forever. But if the mystics are right and we're all connected, maybe this story was bigger than any one person.
Dear Bernie, you went from being one of the geniuses of Wall Street to a total pariah. And there's this in-between time between your confession and your sentencing. You're under house arrest with your wife, Ruth, in your Upper East Side apartment. You're holed up in this perfect world you created while everything crumbles around you. Your sons Andy and Mark, who worked for you most of their lives, are no longer speaking to you. Paparazzi are swarming the block. And during this time, you write a letter of apology to the residents of your building and have it slipped beneath their doors, as if you still might be the president of your building's condo board. As if things might still be okay. Dear neighbors,
please accept my profound apologies for the terrible inconvenience I have caused over the past weeks. Ruth and I appreciate the support we have received.
Okay. And then I did what any artist does when something drives them crazy. I made it into art. I would take all these stories swirling around in my head and try to make sense out of them. It was still a mess, but now it would be my mess. One day, maybe I'd show my work to the world, but first, I'd subject my friends to it. Would they like it? Would it be any good? Or had I totally lost it? It was 4 a.m. I was almost too tired to care. Almost.
His returns were not spectacular. What was spectacular was the consistency. Markets go up, markets go down. But Madoff's returns went up in a straight line, more or less, for 40 years. Who wouldn't want that kind of security? No downturn, just growth. No failure, no loss. It's beautiful. But they were just making up numbers on the 17th floor. Each day, they wait until the trading day ended, decide how much the accounts should be worth, then create false reports of trades that never happened based on the actual stock trading prices. Now, many people assume that Madoff's victims simply handed their money over and walked away. But that was not the case with the people I talked to. Follow me. I'm gonna have to call you back, okay? All right.
I have the most magnificent statements. Very detailed stocks and prices. Of course I opened them. I opened every one. It certainly looked like a totally active brokerage account. Whenever we needed the funds, I'd call the office and they'd mail me a check. I helped my 5 grandchildren through college with that money, buy homes with that money. By the end, I'd used up a good bit of the principal.
Yeah, it worked out for a few people. But for everyone else, it was a tragedy. Imagine saving up for years, then waking up one morning and checking your account balance, and it's just 0.
Zero isn't just about money. It's about lies and betrayal. And in a society where we don't take care of the elderly, it's also about survival.
A lot of people think only the super wealthy invested with Madoff, but he had a lot of middle-class investors too. Many of them used their accounts like a 401k. Each month, they'd put a little in so they'd have enough to live off when they retired. And then it all just disappeared. By this point, the scam had gone on for so long that many of his investors were over 70 and already retired. The lucky ones had family who could take them in or were healthy enough to start working again. "I'm taking care of my sick mother-in-law," one 73-year-old victim wrote the New York Times. "My wife has cancer. I just can't deal with it. I'm cooked. Dear Bernie, you will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Your basket and your kneading trough will be cursed. The calves of your herd will be cursed, and the lambs of your flock.
You will be cursed going in and cursed coming out.
You will come to ruin because of the evil you have done.
Day after day, you'll be oppressed and robbed.
You will sow much seed in the field, but you will harvest little because locusts will devour it.
You will plant vineyards and cultivate them,
but you will not drink the wine or harvest the grapes,
because the worms will eat them.
You will have children, but you will not keep them.
Then my uncle put me in touch with his colleague, a therapist whose mother lost everything to Madoff.
I'd be happy to tell you our story. Like many of his victims, we were just a typical Eastern European Jewish family.
My grandfather deserted the Tsar's army and came here at 17. He had a small business in boys' apparel. Oh, my grandfather came here at 17. My parents grew up in the Bronx. They met at 13, and my father became an orthodontist. They moved to Long Island when I was 3, but my parents grew up in the Bronx. They joined a country club, played golf, and had a nice life. All their childhood friends became doctors and lawyers and wives. Then an accountant friend who'd they known forever said he had a new connection to this genius investor, and that's how they got in with Bernie Madoff. And the accountant lost all his own money too. When my father died, my mother sort of fell apart. She was lost without my dad, but her Madoff account made her feel secure. She had a steady return in good times and bad. She had piles and piles of statements. She would copy all the numbers on the outside of the envelopes. She began to lose her memory, but she had a steady return in good times and bad. If the men of my family were alive to see they got taken, it would have meant psychological devastation. To know they got taken, that they failed in that way, that they lost all the money they worked so hard to save. My heart goes out to the men who are still alive. And I called my brother and he said, I'm reading the Times, I know. And an image came into my mind of a gun that went puff with smoke. All the whole thing, all the money was gone. All the money was gone in a puff of smoke, in a puff of smoke. All the money was gone. They sold the house in Long Island, and we drove my mother down to a nursing home in New Jersey. We didn't say where we were going, but I think she might have known. She held the keys to her house in her hand the whole way down. They joined a country club, played golf, and had a nice life. All their childhood friends became doctors and lawyers and wives. Then an accountant friend who they'd known forever said he had a new connection to this genius investor. My parents both grew up in the Bronx, and my grandfather came here at 17.
Scams like Madoff's are sometimes called affinity schemes because the scammers prey on people from their own communities. Charles Ponzi, the original Ponzi schemer, was an Italian immigrant who targeted other Italian Americans. So it's not a coincidence that most of Madoff's victims were the sons and daughters and grandchildren of Jewish immigrants who came here with very little, like Madoff's family. We trust people who are like us.
The alleged Madoff fraud is now being viewed as a classic Ponzi scheme, in which new money from some investors was used to fund withdrawals of fictitious profits for other investors. The trustee, Irving Picard, said that he would go after or claw back the profits of investors who withdrew far more money than they contributed.
Those victims who were being sued, they needed lawyers. And I know it sounds like I'm making this up, but I swear I was friends with a poet who knew one of those lawyers.
As an attorney, I mostly represent the infamous 1%. But if you ask me where my sympathies lie, they're with the 99. Have you heard about the Ibbotson curve? This researcher at Yale, I think, plotted the rates of return of various investments. And at the end of a very long time, stocks did the best, thus proving that equities will always continue to rise. Or could it just be coincidence that you're in the amazing century of American power and equities did well? My clients are called net winners in the Madoff case because they withdrew more than they put into their Madoff accounts. And now the court-appointed trustee Irving Picard is suing them, clawing back for the difference in the amounts. But if the SEC didn't stop Bernie Madoff, even though they had all the information, what about my clients? How should they have known? Now, as for Bernie Madoff, you really gotta wonder, what was he thinking? What was the pathology there? Personally, I think he's a grade A jackass, a grade A jackass. And very few people knew he was just making shit up. Oh, very few people knew he was just making shit up. The basic dynamics of investment are fraudulent in many ways. It's a fallacy that humans can pick stocks better than randomness. There's this coin flipping experiment. Say you have 100 people, you give them all quarters, and you say you'll eliminate them if they flip tails. After one flip, you're down to 50 people. After 2 flips, 25. After 7 or 8 flips, you're down to maybe one guy who's flipped heads every single time. Now, in the financial world, he'd be lauded as a stock-picking genius. He'd be making top dollar managing a hedge fund somewhere. When in actuality, he's just really fucking lucky. Now, do I own equities? Sure. But do I have this touching faith they'll do better in the long run? No.
By this point, I was pretty convinced Madoff wasn't the only one to blame, that the American financial system itself was complicit. How was the economy supposed to keep growing and growing forever? I still felt some shame about Madoff being Jewish, but now I understood this was common. When someone from a majority culture commits a crime, we see them as a person. But when they're from a minority group, there's a false sense that they represent that culture. And others from the group often feel a sense of responsibility for something they had nothing to do with. At the same time, on the deepest human level, I was starting to think we all had a little bit of Bernie Madoff inside us. The temptation to give people what they want, tell them what they want to hear, instead of dealing with reality.
Dear Bernie, you're probably a grade A jackass, like the lawyer said. But you couldn't have done it alone. You needed a whole system to support you, a whole way of life. You needed a culture where people don't have to look out for one another, where our job is just to survive, where the only way to be safe, to make a lot of money and put it somewhere far away where no one can touch it, where we know it'll be there waiting for us one day, far off in the future, when we really need it.
$65 billion lost. Retirement savings drained of every cent. Entire charities emptied out. Universities struggling to survive. Pension funds depleted. And 3 people who took their own lives when the curtain was pulled away. A French nobleman who lost $1 billion of his client's money. A British veteran who lost his family's life savings. And Bernie and Ruth's older son, Mark. He worked on the 19th floor and claimed he never knew what happened on the 17th, but no one believed him. He became a pariah in the finance world like his father. No one would hire him. He was repeatedly sued. He hanged himself on the 2nd anniversary of his father's arrest. 4 years later, his brother Andrew died of cancer. Winter turned to spring. The banks got bailed out. The Southern District of New York City gave Bernie Madoff 150 years in jail. And it was just barely warm enough to entertain the tourists by playing my violin on Wall Street. Are you an outlier or a trend? Just an aberration, or the beginning of the end of a dream? And now we wake. And is this story new? Or is it old? And is it different every time it's told? Or is this just the music that broken vessels make? Dear Bernie, how did the whole thing start? Were you a mastermind or just a common criminal? That's what some people think. Early on, you made some investment mistakes you were afraid to admit to your clients. So you borrowed from other accounts to cover them up. A little here, a little there. And meanwhile, people started clamoring to get in. And you let them. You were afraid to tell the truth, so you let the lie get bigger and bigger. You let it grow into this giant black hole.
I talked to a Buddhist monk the other day. He also happens to be a Jew. I thought maybe he could help me. And he said,
you could almost say Madoff was delivering the Messiah. This is the era of perfection. The faithful will enter into it. But in Judaism, the Messiah is in the future. And as for you, Alicia, you want me to explain this, but you can't understand what happened without looking at yourself. Your own desire for control, your wish to succeed, to be safe, never to stumble, never to fail. We live in a time when it's easy to believe that a life without loss might be possible.
Something happened in the last 100 years, with ever more elaborate financial instruments, allowing us to make fabulous amounts of money from nothing. We start to believe it's possible to escape. It never could happen before, but now there's a way. We start to develop this unconscious faith that money can protect us from tragedy and old age. There will only be an upside. There will only be an upside. The only transcendence is fully embracing the ups and the downs. And even then, we all grow old and die. The only transcendence is fully embracing the ups down, and even then,
Our residency was almost over when I understood what I had to do. Before we said goodbye, I needed to create one final performance, a ritual excommunication, a Kaddish for Bernie Madoff. We'd use the mourning customs of the Jewish people to say goodbye to him and everything he represented, because he was dead to us. He was human, but he lost his humanity. I was saying goodbye to something else, too, something closer to home. The Bernie Madoff inside each of us. The perfectionist who would do anything for control. The part of me that was terrified of admitting my mistakes, my failures. I finally understood. Confronting Bernie, was confronting myself.
A world without failure. A line that goes up and up. It's beautiful, but it's impossible. In the Kabbalistic creation myth, even God messes up. Bring me your empty jar. I will fill it. Where it comes from, where it goes, I can't tell you. No one knows. At first, God was everywhere, just this infinite light without any interruption. And in order to create anything, God had to withdraw, making a sort of black hole at the center of the universe. And in that space, God made a world of small clay vessels, but they were inanimate. So for the final step, God channeled divine energy into the vessels to give them life. But the vessels couldn't handle the power of the light. They couldn't sustain it. So they cracked, and they shattered, and they fell down. And that's the world. The world is broken. A collection of fallen shards, each with a little bit of light trapped at its center, a little spark of divine energy. And our job as we move through the world is to find those sparks. Do you know how medieval Jews would excommunicate someone convicted of a terrible crime?
First, they would gather.
Then they would blow the shofar, the ram's horn, in front of the Torah.
They would lament, holding candles of mourning.
The rabbi would shout biblical curses at the person being excommunicated. He would warn the community never to speak to that person again. The people would cry, and they would extinguish their candles. Dear Bernie, I wrote this Kaddish for you.
With that Kaddish, I said goodbye to my obsession with Bernie Madoff and goodbye to my studio on Wall Street. But I knew there was no way to separate myself entirely from any of it. The money, the stock market, my fellow artists, everyone I'd interviewed, America, the whole world. Everything was connected. Soon, some business would rent out this floor and use it to make money. My fellow artists and I would scatter across New York City, each of us looking for some other space where we could try to make sense of the world around us. Bernie Madoff himself would leave this earth, but another scam artist would rise to take his place. And we would do what we always do.
Amen.
Look at the world around us and make beauty out of the brokenness.